Hello everybody and welcome to this video introducing you to Science 10. Have any of these situations ever happened to you? You were homesick and now the teacher is teaching a lesson that you have no idea what they're talking about? Or you already get what the teacher is teaching about, so you're bored? Or you're having a bad day and having trouble focusing in class, and then when you try your homework later, you can't remember what the teacher said? Or your teacher's going too fast and you don't really get what they're saying? Or you're stuck and you have a question, but there's no time to ask the teacher for help because they're stuck at the front teaching to everyone. If those have annoyed you in the past, don't worry, because in this class, we're going to be doing something called self-paced learning, which addresses a lot of these problems. So what is a self-paced classroom? In a self-paced classroom, students are empowered to have more control over their own learning. Students move through the learning materials at their own pace. They get a choice about how much practice they do before taking an assessment, and students can choose to go more in depth in just the areas that they're interested in, maybe skip over stuff that they're less interested in. In a self-paced classroom, the teacher is free to check in with students individually because they're not stuck at the front of the classroom lecturing, and teachers can also see who's struggling and provide help sooner. A self-paced classroom is not the teacher abandoning the students to learn things on their own. It's not spending endless time on a lesson. It's not no deadlines so that it's hard to stay on track. It's not doing all the work alone or doing a lot of homework. And it's not doing everything on the computer. So don't worry if those are things that you don't really like to do. I'm going to get you to pause the video right now, and on your Science 10 Procedures worksheet, fill in question 1. Unpause the video when you're done. So how do things work in a self-paced classroom? So for each unit, you're going to receive a playlist of activities divided into lessons. For each lesson, there are steps to follow on the playlist. There's also an on-pace due date. So even though you can go at your own pace, this is a suggestion for you to keep up with the work without falling behind. If you're behind pace, you might decide to skip over some things that are not necessary. And the different steps in the lesson are classified as either must-dos, so everyone has to do these to pass the course. There's should-dos, which are things I want everyone to do, but if you are away because you're sick and you miss class, you could skip over these ones. And there's things that are aspired to do. So these are completely optional. You can do them if you're interested, or you can skip over them. So pause the video and fill in question 2 on your Science 10 Procedures worksheet now. Unpause when you're finished. So this is what an example of a playlist looks like. So this is one lesson out of our DNA unit, which we're going to be doing next. So you can see that there are steps here. Some of them are must do. So everyone has to do these to pass Science 10. Some things are should do. I want you to do it, but for some reason, if you fall behind, you can skip them. And some things are aspire to do. So that's how you know. And there's also the on-pace due date up here. So these are things that I would want you to try and do before September 14th. There's also special boxes on the playlist that might show you a lab that we're going to do and the lessons that I need you to finish before we do that lab so that you understand, and the date that we would do it. So you should do these lessons before this date. And there'll also be little boxes for quizzes and tests telling you exactly what's going to be on each of these on the quiz so that you know what to study, and also the date of the quiz is on there too. So what does a class look like? So you're going to come into class and check the seating plan on the projector. So some days I'll put a seating plan up saying maybe these students, I want you to work in the front with me, or these students, maybe you're going to sit together because you're working on an aspire to do together, or it might not say a seating plan, and then you can sit wherever you like. You're going to get settled into your seat and you're going to start a warm-up question. So there'll be a question on the board for you to do. And during this time, if you have any questions from the practice that you want me to go over with the class because you didn't understand it, there's going to be a place for you to write them on the sideboard called the parking lot. After a few minutes, we'll go over the warm-up. I might teach a little lesson here, maybe something that everyone's not understanding or a special skill that you need to be able to do. And I might give announcements here. And then the rest of the class will either be some kind of mixture of doing group activities or labs, where we're working together in stations or doing activities, or some self-directed work time where you're working through your playlist. And the plan will always be written on the board. Okay, so pause here and fill in the procedures worksheet. So even though you're working through things on your own, it's going to be important that you and I know when you're understanding things and when you're not. So, and that way I will be able to tell if you need some extra help or something re-explained. So at the end of some of the lessons, they're going to be something called a mastery check. And it's going to have one to three questions about the lessons. When it's time to do a mastery check, you're going to put up a divider between yourself and your neighbors, or you can move to one of the desks on the side where there's no one next to you. You're going to put your phone away in a backpack or put it face down on the desk so I know that you're not looking at it, and you're going to let me know that you're ready for a mastery check. So you're going to tell me and I will give you the mastery check. So just a piece of paper with 1 to 3 questions on it. You're going to do the mastery check independently, so without talking to your neighbors. Sometimes you'll be able to use your notes, sometimes you won't. I will always let you know what those times are. When you finish, you're going to hand it into the inbox with the panda, face down. You'll put the dividers away if you use dividers, and you're going to move on to the next item on your playlist. I'll mark the mastery check as soon as I can, and then I will show it to you so that you know if you understand. If you get at least a developing, then you can move on to the next lesson. So remember, it goes beginning, developing, applying, extending. If you get a beginning or an I for incomplete, you're going to revise and try it again. I might go over it with you, or I might say, hey, let's see what practice you did and give you some more practice or some corrections to do, and then you get another shot at it. So pause and fill in questions 4 to 8 on your procedures worksheet. Okay, there's also going to be a progress tracker. So this is just an example. You can see the student name and it says what they're working on, okay, what they're working on, and it's keeping track of if you've done the lessons or not, when you need to revise. This isn't meant as like a public shaming kind of thing. This is meant so that you can see who is on the same lesson as you. You can work together with them, or you can see if you're maybe Rex and you're here, but you need some help and Miss Fulton is busy, you could ask Jasmine for some help because they've already mastered it. So what do you do when you need help? So you can ask a neighbor or a friend. There's 30 of you and 1 of me, so you're probably going to get help faster if you can talk to the person beside you or check the progress tracker and see who's finished the lesson already. If you've asked a neighbor or a friend and they don't know, it's time to ask me or one of the other adults in the room. So I might be working with a small group. If I am working with a group, just wait until I'm not talking to interrupt. Or if I'm at my lab bench, marking mastery checks or correcting work, just bring your question up to me. That's the fastest way for you to get my attention and get some help. Okay, so fill in question 9 on your science procedures worksheet. And that's the end of this video. You can move on to the next task on your playlist.